My wife's jewelry disappeared one piece at a time. At first, I blamed grief. I thought I had misplaced her wedding earrings. Then her pearl bracelet vanished. Then the small gold locket she wore the day our son was born. But when I found her anniversary ring listed online under my son's account, I stopped grieving quietly and started digging. My name is Martin Hayes. I'm 62 years old, and for 38 years, I was married to the best woman I ever knew. Her name was Ruth. She was not flashy. She didn't care about designer purses or expensive shoes. But jewelry meant something to her, not because of the price, but because every piece carried a memory. Her wedding band had a tiny chip in it from when she dropped in the kitchen sink our first year married. Her pearl earrings came from her mother. Her gold locket held a picture of our son Brent at 6 months old, asleep in her arms. When Ruth got sick, she made me promise one thing. "Don't let my things become a fight," she said. I held her hand and told her they wouldn't. I believed that. I really did. Ruth passed on a cold morning in February. The house went silent in a way I can't explain. Even the refrigerator sounded too loud. Her slippers stayed beside the bed for 3 weeks because I couldn't bring myself to move them. Our son Brent came around often at first. He was 35, married to a woman named Kelsey, and had 2 kids. He hugged me hard at the funeral and said, "Dad, I'm here for whatever you need." I wanted to believe him. Brent had always been complicated. He was charming when he wanted something, and wounded when anyone told him no. Ruth saw the best in him. I saw the pattern. When he was 20, he borrowed money for a community college and spent it on a motorcycle. At 27, he asked Ruth for help with rent, then took Kelsey to a beach resort. At 32, he said he needed money for his daughter's braces. But the dentist had never sent a bill. Every time I got angry. Every time, Ruth said, "He's still our son." After she died, I tried to hear her voice instead of my own suspicion. So when Brent asked if he could stop by to help sort through Mom's things, I said yes. The first visit was emotional. He stood in Ruth's closet, holding one of her blue sweaters, and cried into it. "I can still smell her," he said. I put a hand on his shoulder. For that moment, he wasn't a man who lied about money. He was my little boy missing his mother. Then he asked about the jewelry box. I should have noticed how quickly he asked. It sat on Ruth's dresser, a dark cherrywood box with brass handles. She had kept it for 40 years. "I'm not ready to go through that," I told him. Brent nodded too fast. "Of course. No rush." But after he left, I opened it. Everything seemed to be there. At least, I thought it was. The first piece disappeared 2 weeks later. Ruth's pearl earrings. I noticed because I had been looking for them to place beside her photo on what would have been our anniversary. I checked the jewelry box twice, then the dresser drawers, then the bathroom cabinet. Nothing. I told myself grief makes people forgetful. The next thing missing was her thin gold bracelet. That one bothered me more. Ruth wore it every Christmas. It had a clasp shaped like a tiny heart. I remembered putting it in the top tray of the jewelry box after the funeral because I held it in my palm for several minutes before closing the lid. Now it was gone. I called Brent. "Did you take your mother's bracelet by mistake?" He sounded offended. "What bracelet?" "The gold one with the heart clasp." "No, Dad. Why would I take that?" "I'm just asking." There was a pause. Then he said, "You think I stole from Mom?" The word stole hit me hard. I didn't say that. "You didn't have to." Then he hung up. Within an hour, Kelsey texted me. "Brent is devastated that you accused him. He's grieving too." I stared at the message and felt ashamed. Maybe I had been unfair. Maybe my mind was turning grief into suspicion because suspicion was easier than loneliness. So I apologized. Brent accepted, but he was cold for a week. Then he came over with dinner and acted like nothing happened. That was how Brent worked. He punished you just long enough to make you grateful when he forgave you. By April, more pieces were missing. A pair of small diamond studs. Ruth's silver charm bracelet. The locket with Brent's baby picture inside. That one made my chest hurt. I tore the bedroom apart looking for it. I checked under the dresser, behind the nightstand, inside old purses, coat pockets, shoe boxes. Gone. When I called Brent again, I tried to keep my voice calm. Your mother's locket is missing. He sighed. Dad. Don't dad me. You're doing it again. Doing what? Looking for someone to blame because you miss her. That stopped me because I did miss her. Every second. Brent softened his voice. I know you're hurting, but Mom had a lot of stuff. Maybe she moved things. Maybe you did. Maybe you gave something to Aunt Linda and forgot. I didn't. You sure? I wasn't. That was the problem. Grief had made holes in my memory. I had burned toast and put milk in the pantry. I had driven to the grocery store and forgotten why I was there. I had found Ruth's reading glasses in the freezer and cried for 20 minutes because I didn't know which one of us had put them there. So when Brent said I might be confused, part of me believed him. That was the first open loop in my own mind. Was my son lying? Or was I losing pieces of myself along with pieces of Ruth? The answer came by accident. My neighbor, Janet, came over one afternoon with banana bread. Janet had known Ruth for 20 years and had the blunt kindness of a woman who had survived 2 husbands and raised 4 sons. She noticed me staring at Ruth's dresser. What's wrong? She asked. I told her. Not everything. Just enough. She listened and said, Do you have cameras? No. Get them. I don't want to spy on my own son. Janet looked at me like I had said something foolish. Then don't call it spying. Call it protecting your wife's memory. That night, I ordered 2 small indoor cameras. One for the hallway, one for the bedroom. I felt ridiculous installing them. I felt worse hoping they would catch nothing. For 10 days, nothing happened. Then Brent called. Dad, can I stop by tomorrow? I found some old photos Mom might want. He stopped himself. Might have wanted, he corrected. That little stumble almost broke me. Of course, I said. He arrived the next day while I was at the hardware store. He had a key, one I had given him years earlier for emergencies. I came home to find a bag of groceries on the counter and a note. Thought you could use these. Love you, Dad. For a moment, I felt guilty again. Then I checked the camera. The video showed Brent entering the house at 1:14 p.m. He carried groceries into the kitchen. Then he went straight to my bedroom. Not slowly, not accidentally. Straight there. He opened Ruth's jewelry box. I watched my son lift the tray, search beneath it, and remove something wrapped in blue velvet. He put it in his jacket pocket. Then he stood still for a few seconds, looking toward the bed. I thought maybe he was ashamed. Then he opened a closet and checked the shelf where Ruth kept handbags. I stopped the video. My hands were shaking so hard, I nearly dropped the phone. I went upstairs. The blue velvet pouch was gone. Inside had been Ruth's anniversary ring, not her wedding ring. That was still on my dresser in a small glass dish because I couldn't yet decide what to do with it. The anniversary ring was different. I had given to her on our 30th anniversary after saving for nearly a year. It had 3 stones, one for the past, one for the present, one for whatever time we had left. We didn't get enough time, and Brent had taken it. I called him. He didn't answer. I called again. Nothing. I texted, Bring back your mother's ring. 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, then appeared again. Finally, he replied, What are you talking about? I sent him a screenshot from the camera. For 6 minutes, no response. Then my phone rang. His voice was furious. You put cameras in the house? You stole your mother's ring. I didn't steal anything. I saw you. I took it for safekeeping. From me? You're not thinking clearly, Dad. You've been losing things. There was again that little hook, the suggestion that I was old, confused, unstable. This time, it didn't work. Bring it back tonight, I said. I can't. Why not? Silence. Brent. I had to pawn it. The words hit harder than I expected, not because I was surprised, because now there was no more maybe, no more grief, no more misplaced memory, just betrayal. You pawned your dead mother's ring? I needed money. For what? He snapped. You have no idea what my life is like. I know exactly what your life is like. You lie until someone pays. He went quiet. Then he said, Mom would have helped me. That was the moment anger finally burned through the sadness. Your mother is not here to manipulate anymore. He hung up. That should have been the end. But it wasn't even halfway over. The next morning, I drove to every pawn shop within 15 miles. At the fourth one, I found the ring. The owner recognized it from a photo. He said a man matching Brent's description had pawned it 3 days earlier. I can buy it back, I said. The price was almost twice what Brent had gotten for it. I paid. Then the owner said something that changed everything. You might want to check online, too. Online. He turned his monitor around and showed me a local resale page. There, under the username Kelsey Bargains, was Ruth's silver charm bracelet, my wife's bracelet, listed as vintage sterling charm bracelet. Estate find. Estate find. I felt sick. The seller had other listings. Pearl earrings, gold bracelet with heart clasp, diamond studs, the locket, and at the bottom of the page listed that morning was Ruth's wedding band. My body went cold. Not the anniversary ring. Her wedding band. The one that still should have been in the glass dish on my dresser. I drove home so fast I barely remember the road. The dish was empty. The wedding band was gone. I checked the hallway camera. Kelsey. She had come into my house the previous evening while I was out searching pawn shops. She used Brent's key. She walked upstairs with her purse already open. She didn't hesitate. She knew exactly where to go. And that was a twist I hadn't expected. It wasn't only my son. His wife was helping him. I called Brent and told him I knew. He said, "Don't do anything stupid." Like call the police? Dad, please. Think about the kids. There it was. The kids. The shield he always raised when consequences came close. Then Kelsey called. She didn't cry. She didn't apologize. She was angry. "You need to calm down," she said. "You stole Ruth's wedding ring." "No. Brent said those pieces were supposed to go to us." "He lied." "Well, we're family. So is Ruth." She scoffed. "And what good is jewelry sitting in a box? We have bills. You're alone in that big house with money in the bank while your grandchildren need things." My grandchildren needed their parents to have character. She gasped like I had slapped her. "You are cruel." "No," I said. "I am awake." That afternoon, I changed the locks. Then I called Aaron, my younger brother, and Janet from next door. I needed witnesses. Not because I feared Brent physically, but because I knew what he would do next. He would rewrite the story. Sure enough, by dinner, my phone was exploding. Kelsey had posted online, "Pray for our family. Grief has made Martin paranoid and aggressive. He is accusing us of stealing heirlooms Ruth promised to her grandchildren." People commented with sympathy. Some said grief changes people. Some said elderly parents can become confused. Elderly. I was 62. By nightfall, Brent called my sister Patricia. He told her I had become unstable. He said I was hiding Ruth's things because I didn't want the grandchildren to have them. He said he was worried I might hurt myself. Patricia called me crying. "Martin, tell me what's going on." I sent her the videos. She called back 10 minutes later. Her voice had changed. "What do you need?" That was the first spark of hope. The next day, Patricia and I went to the police station. I brought videos, screenshots, pawn shop receipts, and Ruth's jewelry inventory. That inventory was Ruth's doing. Years earlier, after a burglary in our neighborhood, she photographed every piece and wrote notes beside them. Pearl earrings for Mom. Gold bracelet for Martin, Christmas 1998. Locket with Brent's baby picture. Wedding band, never to be sold. Never to be sold. The officer looked through everything and said, "This is more than a family disagreement." Brent was charged with theft. Kelsey, too. When the police contacted the resale site, several items had already sold. The buyers were tracked down. Some returned the pieces. Some had resold them. A few were gone for good. The locket was never recovered. That one hurt the most. Brent showed up at my house 2 days after the charges. He pounded on the door, so Hard Janet came outside with her phone in her hand. I opened the door, but left the chain on. His face was red. His eyes were wild. "You called the police on your own son? You stole from your dead mother." I was desperate. "You were greedy." "My family needed money." "So you sold your mother's wedding band?" He lowered his voice. Drop the charges. No. If you don't, I could lose my job. You should have thought of that. My kids could lose their home. You should have thought of that, too. His face twisted. Then he said the cruelest thing he had ever said to me. Mom would hate you for this. For a second, I couldn't breathe. Then I heard Ruth's voice in my memory. Don't let my things become a fight. And I realized something. She had meant, let Brent take whatever he wants. She had meant, don't let greed win. I looked at my son through the cracked door. No, I said quietly. Your mother would be heartbroken, but not because I told the truth. He stared at me. For once, he had no answer. The larger twist came a week later. Patricia and I were going through Ruth's papers to prepare for court when we found a sealed envelope in her desk. On the front, in Ruth's handwriting, were 4 words. For Martin, if needed. My hands shook when I opened it. Inside was a letter. Martin, if you are reading this, then one of 2 things has happened. Either Brent has tried to take what is not his, or you are blaming yourself for saying no. Please stop. I love our son. I always will. But love has made me weak with him. I know that. I have helped him when I should have let him fall. I have protected him when I should have let him face consequences. That was my mistake. Please do not make it yours. The jewelry is yours to guard. Some pieces are for our grandchildren when they are grown enough to understand them. Not for Brent. Not for Kelsey. Not for bills, debts, vacations, or excuses. If Brent tries to make you feel guilty, remember this. A son who loves his mother does not sell her memories. I had to sit down. Patricia read the letter over my shoulder and started crying. Ruth had known, maybe not the details, but she had known our son better than I wanted to admit. The letter became the thing that saved me, not legally, emotionally, because until then, guilt had been eating me alive. Every time I pictured Brent's children, I wondered if I was destroying their lives. Every time I remembered Ruth holding Brent as a baby, I wondered if I had failed her. But Ruth had left me permission to stop rescuing him. At the hearing, Brent looked smaller than I expected. Kelsey wouldn't look at me. Their lawyer tried to frame it as a misunderstanding over family property. Then the prosecutor showed the videos, the resale listings, the pawn receipt, the text where Brent admitted pawning the ring. Finally, Ruth's letter was entered as part of the victim impact statement. I read it myself. My voice cracked on the line about a son selling his mother's memories. Brent stared at the table. Kelsey cried. I don't know if it was shame or fear. Brent pleaded guilty. Kelsey took a deal. They received probation, restitution, community service, and a no-contact order regarding me and my home. Brent lost his job anyway. Not because I wanted that. Because actions leave stains. Kelsey's family helped them avoid losing the house, but they had to sell her car and most of their furniture to begin paying restitution. Some relatives said I went too far. I let them talk, because people who call consequences cruelty usually weren't the ones robbed. Months later, I gave Ruth's recovered jewelry to Patricia for safekeeping. Not because I couldn't be trusted, but because the house felt lighter without the box sitting upstairs like a wound. Except for one piece, the wedding band. I keep it in my pocket now. Every Sunday, I visit Ruth's grave. I sit beside her and tell her about the garden, about Janet's banana bread, about Patricia's new puppy, about the grandchildren I hope to see again someday, when they're old enough to know the truth. One afternoon, Brent's oldest daughter, Lily, came with Patricia. She was 12. She stood by the grave holding flowers, then looked at me with tears in her eyes. Grandpa, she said, Dad told us you hated him. I closed my eyes. Then I knelt in front of her. I don't hate your father, I said. I hate what he did. Do you hate us? That broke me. I pulled her into my arms. Never. She cried against my shoulder, and for the first time in months, I felt something besides loss. I felt the future. Not perfect, not healed, but possible. A year has passed now. Brent writes letters. I read some. Not all. He apologizes. Sometimes he blames. Sometimes both in the same paragraph. That is his work to untangle, not mine. Kelsey has not apologized. Maybe she never will. Most of Ruth's jewelry was recovered, but not all. The locket is still gone. I've accepted that some things cannot be brought back, but the truth can, and sometimes truth is the only heirloom worth saving. My wife's jewelry disappeared one piece at a time, but in the end, it wasn't the jewelry that revealed who my son was. It was what he was willing to sell, and what I was finally willing to stop paying for.